kitchen. It's hard to believe it's been this many months and I'm still coming to you from my kitchen. But I'm really happy to be here with all of you. It's the dog days of summer and I've got my most summery yellow t-shirt that I could find. And I'm going to make a quick treat. I've been in dessert mode. I don't know what it is. I guess it's being in the house all the time. But we're going to do another really great either dessert or treat. And this is actually perfect for back to school, which is coming up really soon. And you can make a big batch of these and take them to lunch. So why don't we get started? Let me tell you what we're doing first. We're doing maple Rice Krispie squares. So I know everybody loves Rice Krispie Treats. It's one of those things that kids as well as adults, although they may not admit it, but they actually love it. And we're going to make a version today that's a little bit healthier, has a couple of little bit different ingredients, and you'll see. And I think that you're really going to enjoy it. The first thing that we're going to do is measure out our cereal. And I've got my plain old Rice Krispies here. Now you could use any kind of crispy rice cereal that you have. I have used all different brands, versions, organic, plain. You could even use Cocoa Krispies for chocolate. We're going to be using peanut butter, and chocolate and peanut butter is an awesome combination, so that's another way you could go. But today I'm just going the traditional route. And I'm going to need 5 cups of this crispy cereal that I'm going to put into my bowl. And you know what, before I put it in the bowl, I'm just going to give my bowl a quick wipe. I washed my dishes and they were dry, but I saw a couple specks of water. Not that that would hurt anything, because we are going to put wet ingredients in here, right, to make the Rice Krispie Treats, and you know, they'll just get mixed in. But I'm just going to give it a quick wipe. So everything's dry. Very good. Let's see. Back to the cereal. 5 cups. So I've got my 1 cup measure, and I'm just going to scoop it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and let me get my 5th one here. 5. You could use a spoon if you wanted to and spoon them in, but scooping it out works just as well. So I will put these away back in my box. Someone will probably want to have cereal when I have it in the house, which isn't often, only if I'm making something like this or usually the only reason they'll pull out the Rice Krispies. So I'm going to set them to the side as we are done with them. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my pan all ready. So there's a couple steps to this. The recipe that you have will say a 9 by 13 glass dish. And I do make them in the 9 by 13. But today I'm going to make them in my 8 or 9 inch square glass just because I'm going to go for a really thick crispy treat. That's what I'm looking for. But the 9 by 13 works awesome too. I've done it and they're just the normal size, like that thick. So that's about a ½ inch. I'm hoping I'm going to get closer to an inch today. So I'm going to start by spraying my pan. And I'm going to lightly give it a spray. All right. You could use butter if you wanted to and just rub it with butter. I'm also going to do one other little thing to assist me in this, and hopefully this works. I do this sometimes. I haven't tried it with these Rice Krispie Treats, but other things this work with. I'm going to make a little kind of a cross out of tin foil that's going to help me, I hope, lift these things out of the pan when I go to take them out. So I'm going to start with a long sheet because I want it to fit in and come up, but I'm going to fold it in half long ways. And then I'm going to fold it in half long ways again. So now I've got a strip that's approximately, let's see, 1, 2, maybe 2.5 to 3 inches, okay? And I'm going to carefully place this, let's see, let's move this down a little so you can see. I'm going to carefully place this into right in the center, just to come up the sides, okay? And I can fold it over. But that would be fine. However, I'm going to do another one the other direction just because I want to make sure that I have, this is going to be kind of heavy, and I want to make sure I can lift it out in any direction. And I'm going to give this tin foil, again, a quick spray. So I'm going to redo that, fold it in half 2 times, and fit it in. Going the opposite, you can see now I've got one this way, now I'm going this way. So 1, 2, cross. And I'm going to fit that in. Okay, that's pretty easy. Let's just give that a quick spray. We don't want anything sticking, right? I do have my paper towel here a little. I'm just going to make sure that there is some of that spray. Although, nothing really is going to stick to tin foil. We should be pretty safe. But, we'll still spray it. We'll set that aside. It'll be ready for us. Okay, the next thing we need to do is work on our wet ingredients to whip up into our cereal. And they are going to have to be melted on the stove. Just like a traditional Rice Krispie treat, you would do the marshmallow and the butter on the stove. We're going to do our wet mixture on the stove, which has neither butter or marshmallows. I told you we were going to try to go a little bit healthier, and I alluded to the fact that we were going to be using peanut butter. You could use almond butter, you could use cashew butter, you could use sun nut butter, you can use a combination. You can use whatever you like or that you normally would use. So if you have a peanut allergy and you always use almond butter, this works totally perfect with that. I've done it, and in fact, I'm going to have a little bit of swap out at the end, and that's going to be almond butter in it. So totally acceptable. But I'm going to go with the peanut butter for today. And I said that we were doing 1.5 cups, so that means I have to measure that out. And I have my cup. Let me move my pan a little bit there for you. So I'm just going to scoop this out. I'm using an all-natural creamy peanut butter. I go for the all-natural because it has no high fructose corn syrup in it, and that's what I'm most concerned about in peanut butter. A lot of them do. A lot of them have a lot of added sugar. So I go for ones that are maybe a little bit lower on the sugar side and definitely don't have the high fructose corn syrup. And also, a lot of peanut butters have hydrogenated oil in it, and I definitely don't want that. So any organic brand should be safe with, and a lot of the all-natural. I always get the Skippy. It's just peanuts, a little bit of plain sugar, and some oil, but not hydrogenated, and a little bit of salt. You know what? That looks like a full cup, so let me fill my 1/2 cup while we are doing this. Okay. And I'm getting to my last scoop. Maybe? Let's see. Let's press that in there. All right, that would be my 1.5 cups. My knife here. I'm gonna try to get some of this off the spoon because I may need that spoon later, and I don't want all that peanut butter on there, although I will wipe it. But this little excess I'm gonna put back into my jar. That's enough to throw on an apple slice, so don't want to waste that for sure. Okay, enough of that. Put that down and let's cap that up and cap this up. Okay, and I've got peanut butter on me, so you know what? I'm going to grab a quick little rag. I'm sorry, guys. Peanut butter is so sticky, I just wanted to rinse that real quick. And give a wipe. Okay. I can get this into I might need my spoon to assist me, but I've got my big stirring spoon. I'm going to get this into my pan. In it goes. So when we make traditional Rice Krispie Treats and we use those marshmallows, that's just a load of 100% sugar, which is why they taste so good. Highly processed, right, because they're marshmallows. And we're gonna kind of sub out that stickiness with a couple things. One of them being peanut butter, which is great flavor, a little bit non-traditional, but great flavor, right? And the second way we're going to make it a little bit more sticky and give it some, not buttery taste, but a lot of rich, deep flavor is with maple syrup. Okay, so we're still keeping to some of the sugar, but we're going to sub it out and use maple syrup, sorry. Maple sugar would be something completely different, a different product, but it probably would work, still with maple. All right, got that in there. So let's get to that maple syrup. I've got 100% pure amber maple syrup. I'm going to talk about that in a little while after we get these made. Exactly what is an amber maple syrup, I will let you know. We need 2/3 of a cup. So I've got my 1/3 of a cup measure, and I'm going to dump that in. It is quite a bit, but we're making a big tray, so you're not going to be eating all of this maple syrup. Although, nothing wrong with that, as far as I'm concerned. I love maple syrup, I love that maple flavor. And it's not just for fall, it could be year round. So I've got my maple syrup. We have one more flavor ingredient to add, and that's gonna be vanilla. It calls for a tablespoon of vanilla, which is quite a bit, but we're gonna give it really rich flavor. So let's put that in. Got that going, very good. And that's it. So there's not a lot of ingredients, same as the other. And you're ready to heat it up. So hopefully you're gonna see me. I'm gonna be talking to you, talking this way, over sort of a medium-low heat, because we don't want it to come to a big bubbling boil. We just wanna melt this down. So that peanut butter has to melt down into the maple syrup, okay? So I just give it a gentle stir. And once this kind of gets going, you do want to keep stirring it because you do not want it to stick to the pot, burn, scorch. That's why I'm keeping my heat fairly low. In fact, I think I need to lower that just a bit. I'm going to play with it a little bit. Okay, so here we go. It's starting to break down now. So perhaps while this is melting, well actually it's almost melted. Peanut butter tends to melt very quickly. If you've never noticed that or made anything kind of a no-bake peanut butter cookie, it's a very quick melt. Some of the other nut butters can be a lot more dense and take a longer time to break down, so you just have to give it a little bit more elbow grease, a little more stirring, but they still all melt down and work out perfectly. So I'm almost there, and I will show you this pot. These are the days when I wish I had 2 cameras, and I had one right here looking at me and into the pan, but we will make it work, and I will show you how this is going to look. The peanut butter, as it melts down and heats up, it almost gets fluffy too. So you're going to see this. It looks like it's puffing up when you're melting this down, which is kind of cool. And I'm almost there. And you don't want to take it too far, right? We're not, as I said, we're not looking to have this bubbling and boiling. We're just looking for this to be completely melted down, homogenized, meaning all mixed together, so that we can pour it in, mix it up, and it'll be easy to spread. That's basically, and I can hear it starting to get a bit bubbly around the edges as it's getting hotter. So we are done. That was what, maybe 2 minutes? I don't know. I didn't count, but look, I'm going to show you. If you can see in that pan, right? You see, ooh, I want to make it come out. See how now that's really gooey and just kind of falling off of the spoon like that? So it's nice and melted. And, you want to do it fairly quickly at this point, but you don't have to rush. So I've got my bowl of cereal, and just like with our others, we're going to dump this in. I want to get all of that peanut butter goodness out, so I am really scraping. That's why I love my rubber spoon. I use this for every baking thing that I do because it's a good scraper and it works really well when I need to get everything mixed together. But it's a great scraper of the pan, which is primarily why I love it. Okay, I think I've got it all. Let me just set this back here out of the way. All right, so I'm glad I have a clear bowl. I'm just gonna mix it in. So it's a combination of folding, which is kind of down and over. So I take my spoon and I go down into it. Whoops, that always happens to me. The Rice Krispies go flying out. And then over. So I can do that to get it started. And then once it's going, I kind of just mush it around, right? The Rice Krispies break up a little bit, but that's okay. And if any of you have ever watched any of those baking shows, Rice Krispie cereal mix is something that's used all the time to make figures and add texture to those elaborate baked things, cakes and treats that they make up on those shows. So if you're ever thinking about making a really cool kind of maybe cake or something like that and it's kind of elaborate, this is something you could do to maybe make I don't know, the roof of a house, or if you're making blocks of some sort, or sidewalk would be another fun one. And it's very moldable when it's warm, right? Even though you've done this on the stove, this isn't super hot. You would be able to touch it. Now, of course, it's going to harden the longer it sits, right? So we definitely don't want to go too long, especially when it's with the marshmallow. With the regular kind, that'll get stiff like that. This stays softer for a while, so actually this is going to go in the fridge to set up for about a half an hour before you eat them. I mean, I don't think I could wait most times, so I just go for it. But you could stick it in your fridge and then pull it out in a half an hour, and it's a lot easier to cut, and it'll stay together better, okay? So if you can see now, all of my Rice Krispie is now looking like peanut butter color, all right? It's all mixed in, which is great. So let's just get this Rice Krispie cereal out of the way, and I'm going to bring my pan back over, and I'm going to scrape it in, again with my awesome scraper spoon here, very carefully. So kids, this may be something you might need a little bit of help with because this bowl can tend to get a little bit heavy. So some of you younger guys might be a bit heavy for you, but that's okay. You get a little help holding the bowl. And anything residue that's left in there, that's right, that goes to the person who made them. I'm going to scrape, just using my bowl as an aid, I'm going to get any of this Rice Krispie off the spoon, but whatever's left on the spoon, again, that becomes my treat to munch on. Okay, now, this needs to get spread out. It can get sticky. Hands, I feel, are the best tool. You could take your spray and spray your hands and then nothing will stick. You could butter them, but I feel like the cleanest way is just a little bit of water. So this is just a bowl of water that I brought over here, but you could do it by your sink and just put them under. You just barely moisten up your fingertips, right? And then you can press things down and they're not going to stick. And if, as anything, if it starts to stick, you just grab a little bit more water. And as you can see, hopefully, this is making a very thick base, which is what I want, because I'm looking for a substantial treat here, not just a tiny little thin one, right? We want nice and thick. Okay, it's almost done. I just want to even it out now. It's starting to get a little sticky again, so I'm going to re-wet. And you see it doesn't stick at all. If my hand's wet enough, this isn't going to stick. And this works with anything that's sticky, not just Rice Krispie Treats, mind you. So if you're working with some sticky substances and you want to use your hands to, touch it or press it into something, feel free to get that bowl of water or sink. Get your hands wet. Okay, that's tip number 2 for today. All right, so, and since I have the water here, I'm just going to kind of wet this a little bit, and I'm going to wipe them off with my paper towels. Okay, very good. Okay, if you wanted to get a knife or a spatula and just really press it in there, you could. I'm not going to bother because it's pressed in pretty tight. And then that's how they look, all right? If you were in a rush or just couldn't stand it, you had to have one, by all means, you could cut this now. I'm not going to, as I said, they do tend to work better when they set up in the fridge. I have one in the fridge. I'm going to pull that out in a moment and show you how to cut it. But before I do that, as I'm going to give my water and set these aside, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this guy, the maple syrup. Maple syrup is an awesome way to substitute for plain old regular sugar, white sugar, because all of that added white sugar is not as healthy as having maple syrup can be. So maple syrup has 52 calories per tablespoon, and 14 grams of that is going to be carbohydrates. Now, carbohydrates means sugar, but the good thing about the sugar in maple syrup is that it's mostly sucrose, almost entirely sucrose, which I'm sure sucrose probably doesn't mean much to any of you. But sucrose is a complex sugar, which means the body breaks it down, which means you don't get that big sugar rush right away like you do with regular table sugar, which is basically all glucose. And glucose is the substance that our body needs to function. Our muscles need it, which is true, but we like to have it release into our body a little bit slower. Okay, so that is one good benefit to the sugars in maple syrup. Also, there's a lot of minerals in maple syrup. Maple syrup is an excellent source, and I wrote it down because I don't want to leave any out. Calcium, iron, magnesium, potassium, zinc, copper, and manganese. And especially that zinc and copper and manganese, they are really good for our immune system. So right now, hopefully everybody's keeping their immune systems really healthy because we're trying to stay healthy and not get sick. And if you can substitute a little maple syrup instead of some white sugar, it's just going to add a minute little amount, which will add into all the other times you've had zinc or copper during the day and help to bolster up your immune system. So that is another great reason to use maple syrup. The other thing about maple syrup is that it actually, if you don't know this, it comes from the sap of the maple tree. So they actually stick a tap into a maple tree, and the syrup comes out, and they collect it, and then they take it back to wherever they manufacture their syrup and boil it down. So it still is processed, but it's a very low processing to get the maple syrup. Okay, so they boil it down, and it actually takes 40 liters of sap to make just 1 liter of maple syrup, which is why it can be a little pricey. And this one here is not even quite 1 liter, so we're talking basically 1 liter. So we're talking 40 liters, so I have to get this ratio right. So 40 of these bottles of sap was collected to get just 1 of these bottles of syrup. So it is a process, but it sure is delicious. And all of that boiling down concentrates the flavors of the sugar and the substances in the maple sap, which gives it that really just, rich taste. Now, I did tell you that I was using grade A amber color rich taste. Okay, so maple syrup has all these weird classifications, and it used to be grade A, grade B. Nobody really knew what grade A, grade B meant. So they kind of switched it up, and now we're doing just kind of coloring. So I have what I said, amber. So it goes golden, amber, dark, and very dark. I had to write that down too because it's always so confusing. So golden is the most delicate, okay? It's the lightest of the syrup. Amber is rich, and that's exactly what it said. Grade A amber color, rich taste. So this is sort of middle, not real strong, but good flavor. Dark would be a very robust maple flavor, and very dark is the strongest maple flavor. And that's all that it means. They're all awesome. They're all can be used for varying different things, but you might want a different flavor profile for different things you're making. So that's really the only difference. They're all wonderful. So a little bit of maple syrup to have on hand in your house is always a good thing, guys. I totally am all for that, and substituting when you can. Maple syrup is harvested in the late spring. I know it's thought of as a fall flavor, but it actually is harvested and manufactured in March. That's when they tap the trees. It's still cold from winter. We haven't really hit spring, but yet, you know, the days are getting longer, so it probably does something. The sap's starting to flow in the tree. You know, it's not frozen anymore like the middle of winter, and that's when they tap the trees. So even though it's made in the spring and we use a lot in the fall, that's why I say use this thing year round. You're gonna love it. All right, time for our treats, and I'm gonna grab them out of the fridge. Okay, these guys, I did not put my handy helper pull-out in, but I'm gonna cut them, okay? Let's swap here. I've got this beautiful, it's pink, I don't think you can tell, but this glass little footed cake stand, which I just bought in an antique store. It's very old, and I love it. So this is gonna be my fancy dish to put my Rice Krispie Treats on, which I think is cool. Okay. Now, I normally cut my Rice Krispie Treats with this is like, don't judge me. It's my broken down little spatula, which I use all the time. I love it, I won't part with it. But it's definitely my cutter. So I'm always just going here, and I'm gonna get 16 out of this. I can do 4 by 4 in this pan. So I'll make and it's cutting beautifully. They're nice and set. What I might do is just cut 2 rows for you now so I can get them on the plate there so you can see. So I'll just switch this, and I'm going to cut this. Now you could use any knife, right? And it's not sticking, so no worries there. You can use any kind of knife that you have on hand. Should go through and cut it very easily. These are coming out with no problem, so I probably don't even need my little handy guys here, which I'm going to stick this in the fridge in a moment. First one's out is always the hardest, but there it is. Okay, take a look at this. Let me come around. Can you see that? Oh my gosh, an inch of absolute Rice Krispie deliciousness. I can't even stand it. I can't wait to try this. So let's get some out on here on our fancy plate and see how it looks. See, you can make these Krispie Treats as elegant as any other dessert, right? In fact, it's beautiful summertime, right? How about a little fresh berries on the tray with it? And maybe some mint for a garnish? I don't know, if you're trying to make me fancy. Or you can just put them on the plate and let people dig in, because why not? All right, and this is going to be my one to try in just a moment. So let's clean this plate up just a little. A couple crumbs from the, okay. Fancy, but oh my gosh, that looks awesome in the camera. Look at those things. I can't wait to try this. All right, you ready? Here it goes. It's going to be a crunch and a chew, so excuse me 1 second. Okay, so while it does have some peanut butter flavor, I'm telling you, mixed in with the maple syrup, so it's kind of got that sweet mapley taste as well. It kind of tastes like marshmallow. It is really good. Okay, well, you know what? We are at the end of time here. I hope that you guys, oh wow, don't want to choke. I hope that you guys will get a chance to make these healthier version of Rice Krispie Treats. They're delicious, really good. And I hope that we'll be able to see each other in person sometime soon. But until that time, join me in the kitchen again. Stay healthy, stay safe, and keep cooking. I will see you later. Have a great day. Bye-bye.